With Islam Makhachev at the top of the 170 division right now, and with 170 being as interesting as it is, and the potential for maybe some people at lightweight to move up one day, and maybe if Islam Makhachev wants to go for a third belt one day, today we're going to be taking a look at the UFC rankings, taking a look at everybody in the UFC rankings, and talking about who could beat Islam Makhachev, and I'd love to know what you guys think about it down below afterwards. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle, I'm your guy with spinning YouTube channel. So, let's start off over here with the welterweight division. We're going to work from there, and then we're going to talk about a couple people from lightweight, a couple people from middleweight. So, obviously, number one contender, we have already seen Jack Della Maddalena. I don't believe that Belal Muhammad would ever fight Islam Makhachev, and they're definitely not going to give Belal Muhammad another title fight after him working so hard to get the first one. Unfortunately, he's just doesn't really have the star power for it, but it's a conversation for another time. I don't think that would really go any differently. I think Islam Makhachev, and first of all, Islam is huge for welterweight. He is so much bigger and stronger than we've seen him in the lightweight division. That's another problem in itself. I think that he would easily manhandle Belal Muhammad, and on the feet, it wouldn't even be competitive, okay? This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Starting off with Michael Morales. Michael Morales is massive for the weight class, and I would love to see how he stacks up against Islam Makhachev. If it ends up looking like how big Michael Morales was in comparison to when he took on Sean Brady, then I definitely think Michael Morales has a really good shot at beating Islam Makhachev. But if they're a little bit similar, don't get me wrong, I think that Michael Morales certainly has a chance to defeat Islam Makhachev, especially with the power. So he keeps good distance. I would imagine he would have a reach advantage on Islam Makhachev. It wouldn't surprise me if Michael Morales was the guy to do it. He's just huge and athletic for the weight class. I still would pick Islam Makhachev. So that's the first guy that we have, in my opinion, somebody who can definitely beat Islam Makhachev. Shavkat Rakhmonov. We're probably never going to see this fight because Shavkat's always out with an injury. And honestly, the more often he's injured, the likelihood that he's going to get injured again will continue to shine, especially as he ages. I don't know how their wrestling exchanges would go because Shavkat's a special athlete in himself. Him being able to hold Ian Gary the way that he did is only aging well. I would pick Islam Makhachev. He'd probably be a little bit stronger than Shavkat, and I would imagine that he'd be ready for anything that Shavkat brings. Carlos Prates. His ground defense is pretty good. I like his takedown defense, but Islam Makhachev brings kind of like a different game for it. When you have a guy with nukes in his hands like Carlos Prates taking on Islam Makhachev, the possibility for a knockout is always there, but I still do think Islam Makhachev would get one over on Carlos Prates. I don't know if it's a hot take or not, guys. I believe the best shot at beating Islam Makhachev is for Ian Gary. And when we're talking about the welterweight division, Ian Gary is rapidly improving. Ian Gary has great striking, and I believe his striking is better than Islam Makhachev's striking. If he can defend the takedowns against Islam Makhachev, that would be incredible. He has a rapidly improving ground game. He will, and what I do love about Ian Gary too, he's one of those guys that will never accept a bad position. You won't see the same thing like we saw with Jack Della Maddalena, we see with a lot of fighters, where Islam's on top of you. Okay, I just got to defend a little bit, just don't get finished, but I'm accepting this position. We're going to go into the next round. Ian Gary would actively work, and make Islam Makhachev work. And we've seen Islam get dragged into later rounds before and get a little bit more sloppy. You know, I would pick Ian Gary. I don't know if it's a hot take or not. I probably is. I think he has the best shot at beating Islam Makhachev. If these two were fighting, I would pick Ian Gary. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be putting money down on on Ian Gary to beat Islam Makhachev. Maybe if the underdog value is really nice. I think he has the best shot. Sean Brady, he's insanely strong. A lot of fighters talk about that, but Islam Makhachev could very well just finish Sean Brady on the feet. Kamaru Usman calling for a title fight already with Islam Makhachev. You know, I would pick a prime Kamaru Usman to beat Islam Makhachev. I would. I think he's there, he's strong, he's present. He wouldn't be fearful of Islam Makhachev. I think the wrestling exchanges would be really, really cool to see. It's one of those scenarios where I could see them canceling each other out, and then Kamaru Usman, you know, I'd have to see the size comparison for them, but I would imagine Kamaru Usman would be able to maybe bully Islam Makhachev a bit. But Kamaru Usman, with the knees that he has now, I don't think that he, in his current state, would beat Islam Makhachev. I know that he just had a great performance against Buckley, but it's just, there's levels, man. There's absolutely levels. So what else? Like, we're not going to talk about Leon Edwards. Buckley's not going to get a title fight anytime soon. Burns, Covington, Neil Rodriguez, absolutely not. Gabriel Bonfim is probably going to make his way up the rankings slowly. I don't see anything in his game. I think he's a little bit overrated, to be honest with you. I don't see anything in Gabriel Bonfim's game that could get one over on Islam Makhachev, but let's talk about the other divisions. If Islam Makhachev ever wants to move up in weight, if he ever wants to do that, I believe that would probably only be for a fight with Khamzat Chimaev, but are they buddies? I don't even know if they are. Regardless, I think that's too big of a jump up. I think anybody that's significant at middleweight would beat Islam Makhachev, but of course, we have the Ilia Topuria matchup. Can Ilia Topuria defeat Islam Makhachev? The question is, will Ilia really be that much outsized? Islam showed up at 170. Huge. Massive. If the size difference is that great, then I could see it being like a Valentina Shevchenko, Weili Zhang type performance. But with Ilia Topuria, if there's anything that we learned about him, he carries power. The guy carries confidence. The guy carries power. And it depends. Hey, is post-divorce Ilia Topuria going to be a new mythical fighter? We don't know. There's always a chance with Ilia Topuria. He can definitely be the guy to beat Islam Makhachev. And guys, Makhachev is due for an upset. Father Time catches up to everybody. We've seen like a B retire undefeated, but if people keep fighting, the upset's going to happen. Ilia can definitely be that guy. And so can Arman Tsarukyan. We know Arman Tsarukyan is top level, and even what we just saw with Dan Hooker, I know Dan Hooker and Islam Makhachev have a ridiculous skill gap in between them, but Arman looked like a man on a mission. Arman definitely 100% can defeat Islam Makhachev. Don't care if they go up in weight, okay? I doubt Max Holloway will go up, but that'd be an interesting one. Holloway's always improving his game. Paddy Pimblett versus Islam Makhachev would have been fun to watch too. But I don't think we're ever going to get any of these other guys going up to 170 unless Michael Chandler gets it somehow. We know he'd be happy to go up to 170 and take out anybody. What if he's like, sits down and goes, Michael Chandler is the guy that I want at the White House. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I think realistically, we'd only be talking about people like Arman. We would talk about Paddy Pimblett because I think Paddy would be the guy to have no problem taking a jump up to welterweight. But it would definitely be Arman and Ilia Topuria over here. Both of these two have an excellent shot at beating Islam Makhachev, assuming that they fell into the weight class nicely. I'm afraid that Ilia might be a little bit undersized. And I'm not even confident that Ilia gets the job done over Arman Tsarukyan. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about who can beat Islam Makhachev. So, Ilia, yes. Arman, yes. Michael Morales, yes. Carlos Prates, if he gets a big shot, so I guess yes. Ian Machado Gary, yes. I'm not saying they will beat Islam Makhachev, but can they beat Islam Makhachev? And the answer to those are yes. Who do I think has the best shot at beating them? I really do think it's Ian Gary. I don't know if anybody else, I don't know if you guys are going to call me crazy for that. I can see it. If he keeps fighting, he's going to be due for an upset, and welterweight has never been as good as it is right now. I doubt we're ever going to see Shavkat Rakhmonov fight again. Or no, sorry, fight enough again where he'll make his way to a title fight. I bet you, I'm surprised we haven't seen Colby Covington call for a title fight just yet. But yeah, Carlos Prates, he'd have to wait for the nuke in his hands. I really thought Jack Della Maddalena would be able to defeat Islam Makhachev. I picked him to win that fight. Thankfully, I didn't bet because I thought it was crazy that he was that much of an underdog. But yeah, who has a really, really good shot at beating him? I think it's Ian Gary. I think it's Arman Tsarukyan. I think it's perhaps Ilia Topuria. And I would love to know what you guys think about all of these matchups. I would still pick Islam Makhachev. I would pick Islam Makhachev in all of the matchups that I talked about, except Ian Gary. Yeah, I would pick him against Topuria. Arman, I don't know. Arman's a 50-50 in my opinion. But Ian Gary actually would be the guy that I pick. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out another video where we react to MMA content, why don't you check out this video on screen? I'd love to have you over there. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.